Hey everyone, I'm Tarek Morshed with the Morshed Group at Sothebys, where we specialize in representing entrepreneurs and founders in their residential real estate needs. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast, where we interview Austin's most successful men and women and discuss their business journeys as well as the entrepreneurial home that really empowers them to thrive, both in business and in life. During COVID, we are changing our video podcast format to deliver everything to you via Zoom with the intention of still delivering on amazing values, idea shares, as well as supporting our fellow business owners and entrepreneurs in a very challenging time. Hey everybody, I have Devish Patel and Hardik Chodavadia here with me for this version and edition of the Entrepreneurial Home Podcast. I'm very excited to actually have both of them on here. Number one, this is the first time we've had two with me, and so it's like two partners of a company. So that's pretty cool. We're doing it on Zoom for the first time, so there's a lot of firsts going on here. And in addition, these are two incredibly good guys that I've bonded with recently. We ended up working together in kind of a client situation, helped them with some real estate. But, you know, I've really come to enjoy both you guys as individuals and as human beings that are not only great to be with, and you've got your business goals and you've got your family goals, but you're really trying to, my sense of who you guys are as human beings, like you're trying to really build a business, but one that's really based on being differentiated and really connecting with your clients and customers. And that's a really big fabric of who you guys are. And so we did a night out together at what we all agreed on was the best Thai food in town, right? Soursop.
Yeah, no disagreement.
For anybody that hasn't been there, it's a little food truck over at the whole St. Elmo district. You must go find that. But we got to really bond during that evening and talking about all kinds of stuff around life and life travels and growth and business and so on. So it's good to have you guys on. And you know the way I'd love to start, as I always do in these podcasts, is hey, let's talk a little bit about your individual entrepreneurial journeys, right? You know, like your background and where maybe you grew up or you came from, what had you want to get into business for yourselves. You know, and how you ended up kind of ultimately owning a business, and maybe even, you know, hey, how did you guys come together as partners? Mm-hmm. So who wants to go first?
Doesn't matter. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Oh, and by the way, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention, not that we won't have it on here anyway, but the company is Enamel Dentistry, everybody. So I just at least wanted to insert that. So go ahead.
Cool. So I'll kind of start off, like I grew up outside of Dallas in Irving, if people are from Texas, you're relatively familiar. So I always wanted to go into business for myself, and that's partially because like I grew up around my dad who always had his own business. So he had like in Jersey, they had like a donut shop. They moved here, and then my whole life they had a circuit board manufacturing company. So they still have it. And so, you know, I grew up around my dad having his own business and kind of doing his own thing kind of. And turns out after my first like job or two, I figured I was like a really terrible employee. So
I think that's a start of every entrepreneur. Like, wow, I make a terrible employee. That's the requisite. So
yeah. So I don't think I had another choice to a certain degree where, so that's kind of how like where the spirit came from, I guess, if you were Devish to go.
Yeah. And real quick, so how long ago was that, would you say?
How long ago was what?
Like when you had that realization, right? Like, hey,
it was the year. Well, there was 2 times it happened, right? So I took a year off between when I graduated dental school and I started, and I worked at Best Buy, and I was like, oh man, these guys are doing terrible stuff. So it wasn't great then, and then I was a really bad employee after I graduated dental school, working at my, you know, my normal associateship, and I was kind of like doing things the way I wanted to do it, not necessarily the way that was supposed to be done, I guess.
Okay.
and then Devish, me and Devish were kind of in the same boat. We work for the same company. I'm actually
okay.
job.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Yeah.
Hardik, what was the last part?
Oh, so I actually got Devish his job, our first job out of dental school.
And this was this at a dentistry?
Yeah. So they're a really big group. They're all over Texas now. We used to complain about it a lot. Looking back on it, it was a great experience, and I'm glad we did it. But again, I was not a great employee.
Okay. And for you personally, obviously we don't need to name the name of the company, right? But what was it that didn't align with you? Or maybe more importantly, what ultimately had you go, hey, this is not only does this not work for me and I'm not a good employee, but actually this is making me think this is the way I would want to have a business, right? Because I think those are the distinctions as we as entrepreneurs, that's where everything starts forming in a vision, right? And I think that's for our viewers or listeners in this case, or both. I think those are the distinctions that are really great to hear.
Right. I think, it all kind of started with patient care and stuff like that. So I think, we were able to deliver pretty good quality patient care, but it was not the quality that, I went to dental school to do. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was number one. Yeah. And, it was a super busy place, which is great and very productive. And I think they were doing well from a numbers standpoint. But I think, we got in there and which may not be the case anymore, but, the people that worked there weren't super happy. And consequently, I wasn't super happy. And then, that transfers onto your patients and so that was kind of the thing where we would be like, I would call Devish every day, or he would call me, and we kind of complain about how things were. And then we were like, man, we could do this. We don't have to keep going like this. We can do things the way we want, and we know we can do a better job. So. Nice.
Okay. Got it. And so that was about when did you guys decide to kind of go do your thing, go start Enamel Dentistry?
I mean, honestly, it was we were probably 6 months into our associateships, and we had already started talking about it, got the ball rolling. I mean, it was really right out of the gates. It was never a question of if we were going to do it. Just kind of became a when, right?
Interesting. And how long ago was that, would you say?
2015?
Okay.
Okay. 2014, 2015.
So about 5 years ago.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So 5 years ago, you guys were like, okay, I mean, we're seeing what we want. We're seeing what we don't like. We're seeing a certain vision and how we'd want to deliver service and a value. And it's a matter of if versus when.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Got it. So Devish, why don't we hear a little bit about you and your background, and maybe you can even take us from, okay, what's happened since 2015 for you guys as a company, and locations, number of employees, etc.
Yeah, sure. Well, a little bit about me and how I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I think similar to Hardik, it's just very much in the blood, right? I mean, my parents own a little small motel out in Kansas. So I understood the concept of overhead, when I was 10, 11 years old. You know what I mean? It was basically
you were the,
it was just day-to-day life. It wasn't No, my dad was the kind of guy who's crazy enough to turn the faucet on and fill up a jug to show you how long it takes for the water to fill up, and then tell you how much it costs per gallon before you go shower. So you understand not to waste your time in the shower, right? So again, it was never a matter of if I was gonna own my own business. It was always a matter of when, right? I mean, so it's just it's fine. It's the only thing I know, right? So
no, you got it. So you kind of always knew that.
Yeah. It was always that was always a plan, was whether it was in dentistry or anything else, right? But I mean, luckily this worked out pretty well. So
yeah. And what had you go down? So you had that, and you went to high school. At some point, you decided dentistry. Why dentistry?
Well, so obviously, I always liked math and science. I mean, that was always a big thing for me. One thing I always, when I was younger, I always wanted to be a barber, right? For the same kind of reasons, because I like having personal one-on-one conversations with people. It's and dentistry really like gives you that realm, right? Where it's just like, it really is just you and the person that you're going to be treating, your customer, right? It's literally just you and your customer sitting there and you're having this like pleasant conversation, whatever, right? And you know, with the goal of helping them through something, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of is like the foundational reason. So like, you get that at a barbershop too, right? Because it's you and your customer, and you're like having this conversation while you're cutting your hair. Similar kind of deal, right? So, but like in math and science, and was doing good in school, so I figured, why not try out something along these lines? And dentistry really allows for like a lot of innovation, right? We've had so much progress in technology and all that kind of stuff too, and
Right.
I don't know, we like to play with cool toys, so I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really get other people's permission to just buy stuff whenever you want, right? If it's
right.
Really dabble in a lot of these things, so I mean, that probably like kind of puts together like why.
Okay, got it. And so it's 2015. You guys decide you're gonna go ahead and conglomerate and partner up, and go start Enamel Dentistry. So take us from there as to what's happened since 2015. What's the business model, if you will. What's different about it, and share some of that. Maybe even also where your locations are in Austin, and kind of where you're trying to go in the big picture.
Who's taking this one?
I'll start. So we started our first practice. So we 2015, we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? And then Devish had always said he wanted to move to Austin, like literally from the moment I met him. So that's where we ended up. My wife also hated Dallas, so that's where we were.
Got it.
But so we moved to Austin probably the summer of 2015.
Okay.
We already had a lease signed at our first office on South Lamar in Manchac. Turns out city permitting is hard and takes forever. So we thought we were going to open up in December, but we didn't open until May of 2016. So that's when we actually opened our doors. And so, me and Devish, neither of us had jobs. So we were full-time in a startup practice, which is, most people would tell you not to do that, which is probably not a great idea. But we were like, okay, what else? We don't have another choice. So we went full-time.
We're not good employees.
Yeah, we're not.
So we just had to buy into the whole thing, right? We had 2 full-time dentists at this one office, and it's fun. I got to watch a lot of Netflix early on, which is kind of great.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Similar to now.
Yeah, exactly. Not much has changed. We come full circle, maybe.
Come full circle, honestly.
Yeah. So, okay, got it. So you opened your doors in 2016. And it seems like that location really got established itself. And then you've got a few other locations, and maybe also tell us, like, okay, what makes Enamel Dentistry unique? Like, what's your differentiator, as well as where are the other locations and where are you guys heading as a company?
I guess I'll take this one. So I guess what makes us different is we really kind of, like we talked about, we're very like people focused, right? Like things we do from like, our systems and everything, the way we set things up are very like, hey, how do we like overcome barriers for patients, right? Because I mean, in general, when people go to the dental office, they're not necessarily like excited about being there, right? And I think like we get that. So having that like, that thought in your head, and you like make that the foundation of how you want to like treat patients, I think it resonates really well with people, right? Because we like give people a tour of the office, and for a couple of reasons, like it makes you more comfortable with the office, right? So like, you're kind of familiar with things. It just kind of lowers a barrier, right? You go in the rooms, like we have Netflix, we give you headphones, pillows, blankets, all that kind of stuff, right? Again, it's just to kind of keep you more comfortable, just make you not feel like you're in a unpleasant situation for something you may have walked into the whole deal thinking it was going to be, right? So that's kind of our approach, and I think that's what makes us different. And we're pretty funny guys, so people like coming.
All right. So the difference. So if I'm going to high level it, the differentiators I'm hearing, right, is it's like the spa experience with a lot of humor, right?
Right.
And it's dentistry, but it's a spa experience with like a lot of humor from your doctors and dentists, and like just a very easgoing kind of relationship where you can laugh, joke, and you bring your stand-up comedy skills to the table, right? So for our listeners, Dr. Chodavadia actually has a background in being a stand-up comic back in his college days, I think.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So,
Yeah.
okay, got it. And like
This
for our
time the
listeners,
audience can't leave.
I'm sorry,
So,
say that again.
like, this time the audience can't leave. They're in the chair. So
Hey, you know what? That's actually a differentiator. We keep our clients longer than anyone else in the business. I like it.
So Tarek, I know I'm sure you're familiar with like Hardik's laugh, right? So like, how when we're both working in the same, like, like in the same office at the same time, I know when to stop because I know he's gonna go on this ginormous laugh. So I won't be able to like talk to anybody or hear anything. So I have to pause everything that I'm doing until he finishes laughing before I can go back to it. I'll be in the middle of explaining something to a patient. I'll be like, wait for it. It gets over, and then I get back to explaining.
Man, you guys are in rhythm as partners, man. That's pretty awesome.
Definitely.
And actually on that note, like for our listeners that are, I don't mean to, actually, I'm going to ask this, but let's finish about where the company's going and then answer this question too. As partners, what's most effective for you guys in working together, right? How do you make that be effective and where have challenges been? But before we answer that, let's kind of finish up on like, where's the company today? Where's it going?
Okay. So right now, so like I said, we started our first location in 2016. We have 3 locations currently that are open. So we have one on the north side, so East Palmer and Dessau, where kind of near where Samsung is, and then one near Southwest Parkway in the William Cannon in the Lantana Place development. We have our 4th location is currently under construction on the east side in Plaza Saltillo.
Nice.
And then we have our 5th location actually also under construction right now, right next to the domain off Burnett where the Summer Moon Coffee is. So right across the street from where, like, I guess the Domain 3 development is going to happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if I were to help our clients visualize that you could almost take a polygon around the city in terms of like kind of the different corners of the city between south, east, west, and north, and you guys are kind of in all corners right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So 3 locations open, 2 locations you're working on, and you're intending to keep moving and scaling throughout the city here. That's kind of like the big picture goal.
Yeah, market driven, obviously, with all this COVID stuff, it kind of.
Right, which we'll certainly get into here in just a moment. Yeah, got it. Okay, so yeah, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about partnership, right? You guys, from my view, you guys work awesome as partners. You seem to be actually good friends and close friends. But what's the key to success for you guys as partners? That might be valuable for our listeners to hear, as well as, what are some of the challenges in that and how have you guys worked through those, if you can think of any?
I feel like the yin and yang effect, honestly, like we're both like, our strengths are very different, but we have very similar philosophies. So I think that that's what makes it a lot easier. I'd be lying if I told you that, I've worked this well with everybody. I just feel like, we have very complementing, we have very complementing features about us. So I think that's what helps really put it all together real well, right? And when that's the case, that means you're trying to take on different tasks in the business, right? And so communication has to be probably the biggest thing is that, right? If I was telling somebody, hey, in partnership, what is your number one thing you got to think about? It's definitely communication, more so than anything else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I definitely echo that. It's just what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are is Devish is like the opposite, right? Like he's, that in that sense, we have pretty good complementary skills that we can work together. We have overlapping skills as well, obviously, but that helps a lot, right? Because it's not like we're trying to do the same thing at the same time all the time, so
that makes sense.
And I think just openness too is huge with us, because I think neither of us are going to be hey, if either of us are doing something wrong or not doing something that we need to be doing, we're both if Devish tells me, he's hey man, you need to get on top of this, you need to step it up, I'm oh yeah, I need to make sure I do that. And it's being willing to listen to that without taking it being defensive or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, open constructive criticism is definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we both need it.
You know, the thing I always we tell all of our team members this, and Devish always used to say it all the time. But he says he always quotes Draymond Green. He says, "If you're not getting better, you're getting worse." Right? It just
of course, the b-ball player would say that.
Draymond, man.
For our listeners, Devish is like his dream. I'll never forget this, but like his ultimate dream is to coach basketball and kids and basketball teams, right? Or something like that. Am I off?
Yep. I want to coach basketball. At any level, I just want to coach basketball. I feel like it'd be fun.
So I like the Draymond Green analogy there. It works too, right? You know,
It does.
And you know, for our listeners, I've got to share this real quick. It's funny, whether you're into sports or not, actually, I think I've really figured out over the years that truly businesses, like great businesses, if you really look, they actually run very similar to the best sports teams. You know, there's like really defined roles. There's very clear communication, like, you know, leadership is about being engaged with everybody versus autocratic. I mean, like there's so many, and like everybody's
culture,
on one big goal, and everyone puts aside all their personal goals to win for the team. And because of that, everybody wins individually. Like there's just so many analogies. So I actually love the Draymond Green thing. I'm going to take that one from now on for my team. Yeah, if we're not getting better.
What was the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Or no, the Dale Earnhardt Sr. one? He was like, second place just means you're the first loser.
Exactly. Anything you want to share around challenges, which I think you've kind of touched on in some of the things you said, right? Like, hey, if you don't have open, honest communication and really communicate regularly, that could really be a challenge or something like that. But anything you'd want to add to that in terms of challenges and partnerships and the way you guys work around them?
Yeah, I mean, usually it really is that kind of thing, is like how openly can you communicate with somebody when something does come up. Like, it's not to say things don't come up. I mean, you work with somebody long enough and it's a very like high stress situation. Like, conflicts arise, things don't necessarily go how you want them to go, but like, you gotta have that like higher level understanding that you can just be able to go to that person and like, have a conversation, whether it's like, being supportive or being a problem solving, like in all those, in all those instances, like,
right.
you should be able to like go to the other person. I think that's it in a nutshell, honestly.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Got it. All right. Well, so let's move on to our next question, which I'm going to just kind of pull up. And by the way, that what you guys were talking about in terms of the yin and the yang, I think it's so important in companies, whether you're as partners or just throughout the team, to really make sure that you're not overlapping skills unless where it's needed. And that, you really have right people in right seats, whether it's in partners or not. It's truly about making sure that you've got opposite skills in those different seats that other people don't have. So I think it speaks to a lot of what you guys are saying and what's been successful for you guys. Quick tip I would give to all our listeners is Cultural Index is an incredible tool for exactly that, and figuring out people's strengths and weaknesses on a team and making sure that you do truly have right people, right seats, and aren't overlapping. Okay, so guys, let's get into what this environment with COVID and what that's done to your business. How much is business down? How have you been affected? And what are you doing to either survive it or pivot it, or how are you dealing with it? So let's speak into both of those.
Do you want to go? You want me to go?
You go first.
All right, cool. Well, so, dentistry is considered one of the most high-risk professions during this, during this pandemic. So, they've had kind of like a really stringent, like, rules on how we can be open and that sort of thing, right? So we're only allowed to see emergencies because we're just honestly just trying to keep people out of the hospitals, right? So, that's all we're seeing, and basically that's all we've been seeing since the middle of March. So, a little bit of a plug, since we can't get in to see people, what we're doing as a company just to kind of help out is, if you go onto our website, enameldentistry.com, there's a virtual consult tab. So if you have any questions and concerns about your teeth, you can go in there and set up a quick virtual consult. And I get on there and like daily, I'm just like this, just sitting around answering people's questions on there. So, feel free to use that while we're down in this.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. So, we're basically shut down for all intents and purposes, except for, being open maybe like once or twice a week to see emergency patients. And it's on, on a call basis, basically.
Gotcha. Hardik, do you want to go before I've got a question off of that, but I'll let you speak. You might answer my question.
Devish kind of summed it up. For all intents and purposes, essentially, 2 out of 3 locations that we have are basically completely closed. We're fielding all the emergencies. We have a contracted staff, a contracted team too, just because, we usually have a team of 24 people. Now we have, an active team of like 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because, we can't have 24 people when we're just shut down. So, essentially, like he said, we're just seeing those emergencies at one location and then just kind of trying to help out where we can. There's a piece of it as well as like we use PPE, like personal protective equipment, when we see patients too. So that's a piece of it too, because, we don't want to use up, masks, gloves, things like that on like doing routine things that could wait, where, we could drain resources that a hospital could need. So.
Got it. And so it sounds like you guys have had to furlough, obviously, a big part of your staff, or have you had to let them go completely?
Furloughed.
We furloughed almost all the entire team. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. And so obviously huge hit to revenue with all this, like for most businesses, right? If I think about on a high level view, whether it's been on my EO calls or just business owners or other coaching things I've been in, I probably talked to over the last 30 days, at least 50 to 60 business owners and entrepreneurs, right? Or founders. And, probably on average, I would say, if I take it across all those industries, it's, business in terms of revenues are down somewhere between 30 and 50% for the majority. And then if not more, and then, maybe for 15 to 20% of the businesses, it's all still rosy, right? So it's a big hit for everybody, right?
Right.
So how are you guys managing some of that overhead? Obviously, furloughing helps. Any other strategies on what you're doing in terms of that might be helpful to our listeners in terms of, how do you get through on the budgeting side of it when there's no revenues coming in, or how are you keeping up team morale in this moment, right? Even the folks that you furloughed, are you guys doing anything there to, stay in communication? So what are the things that you guys are doing, like just to get through this time that are more tactical and strategic that's helpful, whether it's on the financial side, team side, or whatever?
Yeah. Do you want to go or you want me to get this?
You can go.
So one of the big things we did is like, basically everyone we owe money to, just, we go through our profit loss statement and, called up basically everyone to be like, hey guys, either give us a break or let us push our payments down, or, just some kind of financial relief. So, the idea is to kind of, keep us cash flow afloat as you possibly can, right? So that's kind of the idea. So and most everyone's usually like, pretty like receptive to it. Our credit cards with Capital One, they allowed us to like defer our payments for the month, so that kind of thing really helps, right? Because you put most of your things on your credit card, right? I guess kind of like, how you always like to point out, high level, you want to just try and cut out as many costs as you can, right? If you're bringing in zero income, then literally anything that's you're spending to bring in zero income needs to go, right? So
right.
So that and not in the sense of like, hey, to like cut it out. It's like, hey, like try and, kind of prolong it to later on down the road when, there's more of a chance that because who knows how long this is going to go for, right? The biggest thing that affects all of us is the uncertainty, right? Because it's not like, hey, we're shut down until the 1st of May and that's it, right? We don't really know how long this is going to go for. So, the longer you can kind of forego having to pay for something while you don't have an active cash flow, it's probably the best strategy, right? So that's what we've done.
How early did you guys pivot into looking at cost cutting or working out with whether it's payables and creditors, like hey guys, let's work something out here? How whether that was or if it was furloughing or anything else, how quick did you guys move?
I mean, as instantly as information was available to us, honestly.
Yeah. It was like literally a month ago, right? It was like Monday. We were like, we're going to see some people, but we'll slow it down. By Friday, we're closed down, right? So that 1 week was basically us trying to make all the decisions that we need to. We're like, okay, every time there was new information, like, okay, we're probably going to have to cut down staff. We're probably going to have to cut all these expenses. We use a lot of software to help streamline our process. Like, we don't need to streamline our process if we don't have no processes going on. So, it's just like that 1 week literally was like, from like, we went from fully operational to like skeleton everything. So
interesting. Got it. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point for our listeners. One of the things I've consistently heard, both from a lot of the entrepreneurs in Austin, but also coaches and people that have gone through tough times in the past, right? Like maybe the 08, 09 recession, is in these kinds of times, you have to be decisive as a leader, as a company owner, and get to your strategy session quick, right? You don't wait around for 2-3 weeks. You move quick and try to figure out what it is and what you're going to do and what your stress analysis is of best case, worst case, maybe middle of the road scenarios, and then figure out all your pivots, if you will. Anything else you want to add to what Devish was saying, Hardik, in terms of, what did you guys do? What have you guys been doing out of this to kind of survive this or pivot or such?
I mean, just the big thing is right now, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of people giving away good information for free that used to cost money too. So, really, so really taking advantage of those opportunities to look at strategies to improve our operations and things like that. In terms of, like you said, pivoting is like, we always talk, if we only had like a week or 2 weeks where I could work on stuff, and then I was like, well, it's hard to keep up the focus when you're just at home, but like, that's been the big thing is like, okay, what can we, let's look at our marketing. What can we do? We're not marketing right now, but when the doors do open back up, how can we position ourselves to be at full force and come out the gates running rather than like being scared,
That makes sense. So you guys are even it sounds like you guys are even looking at, okay, what are all the things internally or within the business that we have either been wanting to work on or needing to work on, and let's go get all those cleaned up, or maybe move them forward, such that when we are finally back, where we can have clients coming in, we can really hit the ground running, because we've either streamlined processes or improved them, maybe even figure out how to do things more efficiently or effectively financially, and so on. It sounds like you guys are definitely doing a lot of work in that arena right now too in this time.
Yeah. Right.
Is that right? Okay. Got it. Yeah. And again, to our listeners, I think both what Hardik and Devish are sharing really echo some things that I've been hearing very consistently, which is, and I don't know if I'm going to get all 5 of these that I heard, but number one, acting decisively and really looking down and looking at making moves and looking at your runway right away and looking at what are your best worst case scenarios and middle of the road scenarios, and then making decisions quickly. 2, what are your revenue pivots, if any, right? What are revenue opportunities that maybe you guys have talked about doing or thought about doing, but hey, now you have time, and
right.
maybe something maybe you can get it going right now, right? It could be consulting. And I love what you gave earlier. It doesn't sound like you're charging for it, Devish, but doing that consulting online to your clients and still having a portal and an option, right? Well, at the end of the day, that's at some level some great value add to your clients. It's building the relationship. They know you're there for them through this time, which is also kind of a third pillar that I heard is, your clients need to hear from you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Through this time. Stay in touch with them, educate them as they need, make sure they understand it's okay, or if it's not okay, here's the real deal, or here's how we're going to work through it. Right.
Yeah. And we're emailing our patients like weekly. We try to, post up on social media just to make sure our presence is still felt,
Yeah. And that's huge because you guys are trusted advisors for them, right? And for many of us in our businesses, whoever we serve, we're the trusted advisor. And if if you need to hear from your trusted advisors during this time as a consumer and a client, right? That's I think it's the same for me as well as for you guys as customers and clients, right? So, I think
and that's why the virtual consults are free as well, basically, because we don't charge for that, but it's just, we want to make sure people can get their dental questions answered while dentists aren't readily available.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I don't know what your intention was in that, but what I love about it is you're helping your clients. They know you're there for them, right? So your customer base is strengthening, if you will, right?
Yeah.
You're educating and creating value add, right? So then it also kind of is almost a marketing tool at some level, right? Or a branding tool, right? And who knows, maybe this ends up being a test case of, wow, if this goes really well, is there a way and is there a model to somehow monetize out of that down the road within the business as some kind of a generator of some sort, right? And I think that this is a time to do these kinds of things because as a business, you can figure those things out. Like for us, I think one of our key uniques is that we analyze and trend the market better than anybody in the market. Right, in real estate, in residential real estate specifically, right? And you guys have heard my spiel on supply and inventory and all of that stuff, right? Right. Well, it's great that we do that, but one of the strategies we've looked at this time is, well, wait a minute, we've got all this amazing stuff that our clients get in terms of trends and analyses that are very uncommon in real estate. Maybe we need to be doing something with this on a consulting basis. Yeah. Right. And taking that into a strategy that's a separate vertical within the business that's not just client model related, that is really providing value out there, but also is maybe monetizable. So we're actually working on putting some version of that together as we speak as one of our pivots, So anyway, I think one of the other ones is, really being able to stay calm and centered. And I got to tell you, you two, with everything going on and business and revenues down, it's amazing how calm you both are.
It's just on the surface, man.
Yeah. Or maybe that's what all the bottles in the background are about.
Yeah, right.
But it's so important. And Devish, you said something earlier before we started. You're like, hey, yeah, I've been doing a lot of meditating and working out. And man, I got to tell you, one of the things I heard that really caught me off guard was, this is a time as a business owner and as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you got to double down on that kind of stuff, right? Because if your well-being and your mind is all over the place, then you can't make good decisions, as well as your team that's looking at you, right? It's almost like I heard this great thing the other day where it's like, right now as a business owner and leader, you have to be so focused and clear, and so whatever supports you in that, whether it's meditating every day, taking walks, working out, reading, whatever your thing is, right? And we all have a thing, but do a lot of that such that your focus can be really clear and you can really lead, such that for your team, they can then focus on you versus all the problems, and they can focus and they have someone to follow as a leader, if you will. Not that they don't lead in their department comments too. But
Right.
so I think that's really awesome that you're doing that, Devish. I'm not putting you on the spot, Hardik, but I am. Anything around that you're doing in this time that just kind of supports you?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me, and I've always been like that, but I'm like a very routine oriented person. So like, even though like, we're closed, I'm not seeing patients every day, I'm not going to the office. Like, I still try to be as regular on my morning routine as possible. Never,
Yeah.
I wake up at like the crack of dawn. So like, I try to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day.
Woo!
And I still try So I still try to do that. We got a newborn, so I haven't been necessarily as successful over the past few days or anything like that. But I think that's really important for me. And I do the same thing. I meditate in the morning. I wake up. I do my normal routine, and then you do that. And like, if I get ready as if I'm gonna do something, then I'll actually be more productive, and I'll be in the right mindset to get things done. And it gives you that mental clarity versus. I know even before all this stuff happened, if I didn't do it, then I'm not like on my A game necessarily.
Yeah. So you're continuing the practices that have been successful, but like making sure you're not letting go of those.
Trying not to. It's hard.
Totally.
I mean,
for our
I
listeners,
feel like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, well, I mean, I was gonna say, like, I feel like, an event like this, like, having this whole like economic reset, basically, like, it kind of resets your priorities, right? It's like, if you were to ask me like a month ago, what's important, I would have been talking about overhead and revenue and stuff, right? And now, like, a month later, you realize, like, you could literally lose everything overnight, and what do you really actually have left, right? So I think it should like reset your priorities. So if you're thinking about things the right way, then if you're focused on taking care of your health and your relationships and all that kind of stuff, then you're probably winning the right game. So even if everything else falls apart, at least you have all the right things still going for you.
I like that. And I think that's something a lot of people are having to look at right now. Right.
Yeah. And you should, like, right? This is the time to look at that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I keep asking people, and Tarek, I'll ask you this too. Like, do you think like on the other side of this, we just like go back to, functioning the same way we did as a society, or do you think people will take it more, will look at this a little bit more?
No, my gut is that this is a game changer, and that there is going to be a shift in how people operate in their lives as it relates to what's truly important, and what are the most important things, and what does winning really mean, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And what's the definition of that? I think that some of that will, maybe after some time, just like when you get excited about a goal and then you kind of fall back into old habits, some of that's going to happen. But that I do think that there's going to be a percentage of the population that's definitely shifted in that regard. And, where health, well-being, and family is kind of really number one, because this is like what we're all faced with right now is we're all worried about just that right now,
Right.
And so, no, I do think it's going to shift for sure, in my opinion. Maybe not, it's maybe not 50%, or I'm sorry, maybe it's not like 100%, but I think it's going to be like 50% or 60% of the people are really going to live differently moving forward. Could be wrong.
Right.
Oh,
I hope so. Because I know oftentimes, we talk to a lot of these people, and it's like some of the big speakers in the dental field used to talk about a lot of this stuff. And then like recently they've been shifting a lot of their talks and their lectures to this kind of a thing where it's like focus on mindset, health, well-being. And that that last pocket, the business side, oftentimes follows suit if your mindset is clean and is good from the other parts of your life.
Completely. I agree 100%. It's like the yin and the yang, but it's like if those things are good, then you can really produce great teams, and you're in such a clear mindset. You're happy and balanced in life that you're going to go really, like you might work less at the end in terms of pure hours, but it's like your productivity goes through the roof somehow.
Right.
Mobilizing teams better, your relationships better for it. So, and like on a personal
level, just enjoy your work more too, right?
I think so. And I think for me, out of all of this personally, like it's definitely put some stress around, like my relationship, like it's what, what's really effective in my relationship, right, with my girlfriend, relevant to a work-life balance, right, and family. And so I'm literally looking at all of that myself, and at least for myself, the conclusion I've come to is that, you know what, there's still a way to win in the way I want to win and grow and help people and grow our teams. And you know what, I need to have better balance. I need to have better balance and be there for my relationship with the person I really care about. Like, I'm showing up great around family and my daughter and et cetera, but like, there's still pockets in relationships that are super important to me that I just hadn't given as much attention, I think, that it deserved, because I just thought my business needed me that much. And I'm recalibrating that, and I'm seeing, to your point, like, you know what, if I get that right, this will be even better on the business side. And it might require me to have some paradigm shifts of how that really gets achieved, but I know I can do that. So I think it's a really powerful point.
Right.
You know?
For sure. That's awesome.
And I think like that was actually the last thing that I'd heard in that call that I'd love to share here, which is, your team, right? Like really looking at your team and figuring out who, like if you need to reshuffle the seats on your team right now to meet the need right now, not just necessarily furloughing or letting go, but even the people that you're holding on to, right? How do you shuffle them for the new pivots so you guys can really either grow or hold on well, right? For example, a person on my team, Daniel, one of the things I did with my team is like, okay, guys, here's our runway, right? Whether this lasts for 2 months or 6 months, here's our runway. What I need, and what I think we all need to do is come together and like, I need ideas from everybody around the revenue side and revenue pivots, expense side, marketing, branding side, government funding side, right? Like, let's get everyone's ideas in a big bucket, and we're going to pick the 1, 2, or 3 out of all of those in each department, and we're going to go do those things, right? And one of the things that was suggested was, hey, just for now at least, why don't we reassign roles that are relevant to like what the needs are right now based on our strengths on the team?
Gotcha. That's
right.
awesome.
I thought that was so powerful. I was like, Daniel, man, that is awesome, right? And by the way, Daniel was on my team. He's actually scaled 2 companies and sold them, right? So he's bringing us a lot of value. But when I heard that, and we've done some pivoting in that way, and it's been really, I think, helpful to be able to move through this time more effectively, because Russell, our operations guy, is going to be better at following up on details that I or Daniel won't.
Right.
And based on that, let's shift some of the things I and Daniel were doing, right, on the agent side onto Russell's plate. And in some ways, sure, maybe we should have been doing this all along. But I think in a time like this, it makes you look at a lot of things. And in this particular situation, when we're dealing with maybe furloughing employees or having less hands on deck, well, how do you make that most effective, right? And so anyway, I don't know if that was helpful to you guys or our listeners, but.
No, I like that. I like the idea of like coming up with 2 or 3 things in each category and committing to those, as opposed to just like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff. I feel like it's, when you can quantify it, I feel like it makes it a little bit more like approachable or easier.
Yeah, and really like taking advantage of everyone's skill sets to meet the time now, right? So anyway, well, awesome. Anything else you guys would like to add around any of that, as far as how you're surviving, pivoting, how you've been affected? I mean, I feel like we've talked about it in quite a bit of detail, but I also want to make sure that.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to point out that on the business side, you want to try and cut costs, but even on the personal side, right? I mean, I feel like right now is a good time to go borrow money. Like if you need to refinance your loans, like your mortgage, your student loans, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Good time to, restructure debt as best you can, because hey, everybody's going to have wonky credit on the other side of this. So if you had a few extra credit checks, it's probably not going to be a huge deal, right? So if you need to go, if you want to go, I feel like that's a good thing to think about. And I mean, obviously, this. I mean, we just bought this place, so like, trying to push off cash flow has been great, and all the banks are pretty good about letting you kind of be on forbearance and not have any penalties for X amount of time, right? So it'd be good to just try and keep as much cash even on the personal side. Because I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, that means you're probably not getting a consistent amount of money every month, anyways, right? Depending on how you're structuring your whole like payout, right? But
sure.
If there's a question that your cash flow is going to be shaken down the road, you might as well try and hang on to as much of it as you can now, right?
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And I love that you're, I always advise our clients, like, look, your personal life and your business life as an entrepreneur, like they're tied.
They're tied. Oh, for sure.
They're so tied.
Yeah, it's all.
Where you're an employee or a W-2, you can kind of separate that, right? There's still risk, but it's a different conversation. And so in the same way that I would advise our clients, like, hey, look, when you're looking at real estate, like if you're an entrepreneur and founder, like hold on as much personal cash as you can. Right. And still make your payment comfortable by putting down what you need to. It's like this, what I'm hearing and what you're sharing is like, it's the same analogy. Like, look, you may be fixing everything on the business side, but if you also don't have some backup on the personal side, well, that's going to impact your business anyway. Yeah. So get proactive there and restructure debt or anything like that, especially in a time, like you said, rates are low and lenders are going to be flexible. It's time to do that as an entrepreneur and founder. So that's great stuff. Hardik, anything else you want to add around that?
I mean, he said it.
Perfect.
I think, like I said, just focusing on your own mind and focusing on your own health, I think during this time is important, because I did mention there's a lot of free education out there, but there's almost too much, and you might drive yourself nuts by trying to learn too much too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I wish I would take my own advice, but it's okay to not do anything. It's all right. That's not
Yeah. No, sometimes doing too much is too much.
Yeah.
So yeah. And are you guys taking advantage of any of any of the funding, government wise, PPP, EIDL,
all that stuff?
Yeah. We applied for it all, but
for you guys, or is it working? Is it not? I mean, we went ahead and submitted for it too. Also, we're kind of going through the clunky process a little bit. So it's TBD.
Yeah. I know it's all kind of bank dependent, but we haven't heard back from the PPP people yet. And even with the EIDL, I've heard some people have gotten some money off of it. So how earlier on the EIDL was you get $10,000.
Yeah.
As a grant. At some point, somewhere along the way, they changed it to where it's like $1,000 per employee you have.
Right.
And and a maximum of $10,000. So I don't know when that happened, but some people I've been seeing are getting the EIDL money now. I haven't heard of any more.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people who have gotten the PPP yet, but I haven't.
Yeah. There's one dentist in one of my groups. They bank with a small local bank here that got their PPP money already. But again, we're just with all the changes and stuff, we spent a whole week just trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
I hear you.
With rules changing. But yeah, we applied for most of the government aid related things. I mean, we haven't seen anything yet from it, but I mean, I guess.
Yeah. And the PPP is that one, that loan is the most confusing one, right? Because, some banks let you kind of hold off on when you actually take the money out. Some banks make you take it right away. And depending on where, if your business is open and running right now, it helps with your payroll. But if you're not, then, is it really an advantage for you to have this money? And who knows how much longer you're going to be closed for, So yeah, there's a lot of elements to that I think you kind of have to really do the research based on your business. I feel like it's different for everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean it's even different for us depending on which office we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Interesting. All right. Well, you guys are doing some work from home. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what's working for you from, working at home to be able to do that effectively, right? Whether it's considering, relationship, family, kids, time of day, etc. Any tips?
Try to do as much as you can before anyone else wakes up.
I mean, that's an age-old rule, but even more important now. You're right.
My house is Tarek's been to my house. It's not. It's a nice sized house, but we have my in-laws here for a little bit to help out with the baby. They came before all the stuff happened, and it was insane. So I would literally I was in the garage working. I go to I've done Zoom calls with Devish in the closet, just finding a place where you can get some peace and quiet. But I try to get as much done early in the morning. I'm also really once it's past 1 p.m., 2 p.m., I'm not a very productive person. So I know I'm not going to get stuff done then anyways, but no one's awake. So it's easy to get it started. That's what I do.
I mean, so my home life is the exact opposite of Hardik's, where I don't have kids. I don't have any other responsibilities, it's just me and my wife, and she's working from home. So it works it works out well for her too. But for me, if I want to stay committed to something, I have to set a schedule, right? So if I follow that schedule, I keep it like it's any other kind of day, right? So if you have a schedule, then you can kind of stay on top of these things. But the days that you slip on your schedule, or you're like, oh, I don't need a schedule, I'll just kind of wing it, you most likely won't do anything.
Yeah, because you can be at home, but if you don't have the schedule, it's just loosey-goosey. I think that's a really powerful point, actually. So that sounds like that's really working for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Man, guys, this has been awesome. I feel like we've talked about a ton of content that is truly helpful to your fellow entrepreneurs in this community. So I really wanted to thank you for sharing everything you did and sharing openly as you have in a challenging time. I really appreciate how positive you guys are staying. That's huge. I think our listeners need to hear that and see that. Because again, I think it can't be measured enough as to how important that is right now through this time. And I do, before we close out, want to give you guys the opportunity to really let people know where to find you guys, whether it's your website, social media, or anything like that.
Cool. Well, our group of offices called Enamel Dentistry. So if you go to just enameldentistry.com, that's our website. We're at Enamel Dentistry on Instagram. You usually can book appointments online, but since we don't have active appointments, you can definitely book a virtual consult directly from our website. But once we have some clarity, you can book appointments at all 3 locations, soon to be 4, easily online. Most of everyone we have on our team is super cool. So, you'll have to maybe see Dr. Patel. So not the best situation, but.
What up, man? I have this gift of guilting people into flossing more regularly. I think you want that. I think people need that.
Yeah, absolutely. How often should people be flossing?
Every day.
Every day, but once a day or twice a day? Once
a day is good enough. Right before bed is the best time to do it. You want to make sure you get all the food and the bacteria out of your teeth before you go to bed.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm glad I'm being a good student in that regard. I floss every day, and it's usually at night. But yeah,
there you go.
Perfect. I thought you were actually going to say twice a day, or something like that, or
no. You're good. Just do it
like that. So
just do it once a day, and you're good.
Brush twice a day.
Yeah, brush twice a day.
Hey guys, again, thank you so much. It was awesome to have you guys on as friends, as clients, as fellow business owners, and it's been a blast to have you on here. And again, like I said, I think you guys brought tons of value to this conversation. To our listeners, if you want to listen to our past podcasts or such, you can go to our website, www.tarekmorshed.com. That's going to change very soon to the morshedgroup.com. So we'll keep you posted on that, as well as all our social media stuff on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Thanks for being with us. Stay healthy, stay informed, reach out to us, including these guys, on anything you may need. All right. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Good to see you.